Hi viewers, and welcome to another episode of Haus Home. Keeping me company on tonight's show. Now we've got great stuff that would bring to your home with more tips and ideas. And this time our theme is art and culture. Last week's episode was fitness. On tonight's show, we went out and about to the National Museum. And on cooking, we have a traditional inspired dish, another feature story for this week, some fashion tips, and much more. So let's head straight into our first segment, which is Out and About.
National Museum and Art Gallery was built in 1975 and was opened 2 years later in 1977 by our first Prime Minister, Father of the Nation, Right Honorable Sir Michael Somare. And it was actually a gift from the Australian people to Papua New Guinea. We have artifacts from all across the 22 provinces of Papua New Guinea. The earliest collection we have here dates back to 1800. It was collected by the early administrator to Papua, Sir William McGregor. He was the early administrator who traveled mostly all parts of Papua New Guinea and doing collections. Some collections were given to him as gifts, and some because he loved collecting. He just collected. Most of the collections are from him. The museum actually is made up of two divisions. The 50% or the half of what we have here is mostly to do with science research and consultancy, which we call SRC for short, and that comprises of anthropology, archaeology, we call it prehistory, natural history, contemporary arts, conservation, and of course modern history. We have some few remains. As you drive through the entrance, you would have seen some wreckage, say planes and some engine of what was used in the war. We have them there. That was moved back here. We had the modern history located at Gordon's, but when the government decided to have the road links through there, then we decided to have them here. But most of our collections are stored in one of the warehouses at Mara Barracks. We only have few here to tell the story of the museum itself. We have 5 galleries. Bernard Mulu Narokobi Gallery, that's one, and Tumbuna Gallery, Susan Karike Gallery, Bejijimo, and Ian Saimanjab Gallery. That's basically out in the public for people and visitors and any tourists that come by would have the pleasure of learning about our vast collections. We have lots and lots of our collections, not really displayed, but yet to be databased. They're still in the storerooms. We have well over anthropological collections. We have over 30,000, as well as the archaeological collections. We have well over 18,000 natural history specimens and 20,000 historical materials, and about 800 contemporary art collections in the storerooms. So we have, yes, a good number of collections, but that doesn't mean that that's the end of collection. Our curatorial staff and technical officers would go around. They do carry out researches, and education is part of that. So the SRC staff are the ones who display or supply the information to the education, and I am the one to disseminate the information out to the public and educate our young ones, our young generation about what the museum does and the importance of preserving our cultural heritage. Apart from education, we do have venues that are going for hire for different purposes, like the House Home area outside here. We have, that's a purpose function area for, say, birthday parties, graduation parties, and stuff like that. We also have a garden down there for, say, SMEs, or if anyone who wishes to have a garden wedding, we can also organize for that. And we've been having a couple of those weddings. We have a small indoor area for seminars and conferences, and that's the theaterette. They also go for different rates, and we have the amphitheater out here that is also for hire for big shows. Like if Digital wishes to come and showcase some of their products, they can host it out here, especially in the evenings. We also have a pavilion out there for also functions, big functions, and there's a small space in the gallery called Built on Culture. That's also for launching of, say, products, or especially we allocate that space to government entities and friends of the museum who wish to launch any of the new products that they wish to launch. We have that, but they also have that also covers in different rate too. In case someone is interested to visit the galleries, we are open 5 days a week from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. daily, and we don't charge any fees during those official hours. We only charge fees on visits that are organized or after or outside of our normal operating hours, and we charge those certain fees to pay depending on the number of visitors coming in and the kind of visit that is. And we have gallery attendants who are stationed at the entrance, and they are the ones to to assist any visitors that come by with any information in the galleries to do with anything with the collections in the galleries. But otherwise, we have captions. Mostly the collections that we have on display, the exhibitions, are well explanatory, self-explanatory. They have captions that explain a little bit or briefly about each one of those artifacts in the galleries. So anyone who comes by would have the marvel of looking through and reading through all those. And there's just one thing I wish to tell our young ones, especially students. I've been having students who come by and they think that the National Museum is a place for storing old artifacts and something to do with history alone, not educational. But let me assure the students or remind them that it is an educational institution. Once they come here, they learn about almost all subject areas. When they come, we teach them about appreciating the culture and knowing how old these things have remained, maybe in one particular area, and then our archaeologists went to that site, picked them up, and all those. So history is all about the past. It covers that in social science, say in the classroom. So let's say all subject areas are taught here at the museum, so they can come and learn for themselves. And we are happy to give them those information if they wish to.
Thank you, Patricia, for sharing the brief history of the National Museum. Now, viewers, if you don't know what the museum are for and what they do, you can drop by at the National Museum here at Waigani and check that out for yourself. And also, if you want to hire the venue, you can contact them on the details showing on the screen now. It's time for a breather. After that, Patricia takes us through the museum to check out the collections that they have. Welcome back to the show. Now, before the break, we've watched Patricia share a brief history of the National Museum. This time, she takes us through the museum to check out the collections that they have.
We can go into the galleries. I'll take you around different parts of the galleries and briefly talk to you about what a visitor would come and find in each of those galleries. Like I mentioned, we have 5 galleries, and one of them is Susan Karike Gallery. And this part of the gallery is named after Susan to honor her for her contribution towards the nation's independence. She's the one who designed Papua New Guinea flag. Right. Basically, in this part of the gallery is to do with traps. Technology of traps, we look at, we know what technology is. Technology, we talk about some modern things, done by factories and machines and everything else. But when we look back at history, our people also had the technology, the knowledge to make things out of the surroundings. So here we have different types of traps, fish traps and fish nets to collect fish from all different types of waterways, say in the seas, rivers, lakes, and ponds. And we also have some paintings on the walls to do with traps. A baby being trapped in its mother's womb, a woman carrying potatoes or vegetable garden produce in the bilum, they're also trapped. And spider web also catches any prey, any food that flies by its way. And we also have the paintings that talk about magical spells, that is also trap. So anything and everything around here is trap. Trap is basically talking about something that is captured and has to find its way out to freedom. In this part of the gallery, we also have ethnographic collections. Their collections, what everyday utensils and anything to do with the actual day-to-day living, what people use to make better of their lives back in the days. Here we have a mask from New Island province. Up here we have a brief timeline of the insertion of the National Museum, the early administrators, and the contribution to the building of the museum and its state as of today. At this end, we have some remains of the lintels that were destroyed in the parliament some years back, a couple of years back by the then speaker. Most of the remains are kept in the storeroom. We have only this to tell the story of what happened in the history of Papua New Guinea. We have a snake crocodile figure from Western Province. These are male figures from Buka. Up here we have some shells, kina shells, and mocha boards used by the Western Highlanders in mocha trade and mocha ceremony. We also have garmoods and some figures, male figures, as well as masks for different festivals, and they range from different parts of Papua New Guinea. And we also have the tapa cloth, as well as the figures and the shields in the upper end of the gallery, so we can go through and have a look. Our next gallery is Tumbuna Gallery, and what you will find here are mostly historical and to do with initiations. They're basically traditionally oriented. What we have basically totem poles, the shields, male and female figures, and masks. And mostly you would find these things in initiated homes. Back in the days, we had separate homes for women, mothers with the children, and housemen. Ritual houses for men alone. So men would be in their own houses, women in their own houses with the children. So the skills and the knowledge that were passed on were taught in this manner. Men in the men house taught men about life and how to be men in the societies, in the communities. And that is through initiation. The boy is at the age of 18, he goes through initiation to become man. He is born again, and from a child or a boyhood to manhood. And in the women's ritual homes, they teach young girls and women about life, the changes in a girl's stages of growth, and they teach them about the values. And values is one thing that is slowly dying out within or amongst women, and we need to really encourage young women to uphold their values in order to gain respect from our male counterparts. Right up here is Bejujimo Gallery, and it's basically about the World War. And we have some recordings and the interviews done about people and the experiences during war, how they felt, how they know and think about the effects of war and the aftermath. Thank you. A few books here that talks about some of the interviews. They describe the effects of war. Some of them talk about their relatives, like fathers or grandfathers who lived during that time and the experiences. Most of them have already died, but the story lives on. Okay, finally, we are to our last gallery, which is Ian Simon. And this part of the gallery is basically our archaeological collections. What we have here were collected and databased and displayed by one of our young archaeologists. That covers the 5 galleries that we have in the museum. Invitation out to everyone, especially students and the young ones. Please pay a visit to the museum, and you will enjoy all our huge collections here. We are open from Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. free of charge. We don't charge any fees. Feel free to come, especially during your holidays. The school days would be occupied by your studies and stuff. Parents, if you wish to bring your children for a visit, excursion, and if you want us to take them on tour, we'd be more than happy to do so. We can take them around all parts of the gallery and explain to them anything that's of interest, and you will be fascinated when you hear some stories behind what we have here in the collections. And last but not the least is the education program that I have, and we will go visit my classroom. And basically it's to do with the holiday programs that I plan and initiate, especially during the school holiday programs that I invite schools to come in and partake. And the programs that I plan are basically to do with the surroundings of the museum, the knowledge, especially with the museum collections, and in line with the national curriculum of Papua New Guinea. Here is my classroom. We have all different types of reading books that were donated by the Book Below Biginini, and it's a classroom as well as a library space for anyone who wishes to come in and enjoy our variety of activities. The school holiday programs are conducted at every term breaks, and we send out invitation to schools, and interested students will come, make appointments and come by, and we run programs, a week-long program. The activities that are planned and programmed are fun, field activities, and we want to make our young generation know about what we have here, our collections, and why it is important to preserve our cultural knowledge back home. The other side, or the other part of the classroom, is for tertiary students, and these ones are for the little ones and primary students. So basically the classroom is divided into two to suit the needs of different age group and educational standards of the students. There are no fees charged. The invitation is out to the students, and they come in free of charge. We provide them with lunch and morning tea, and the only expenses is for them to find the transport to come, but otherwise we do provide transport to bring them back to their nearest bus stops to go home. And the safety and the well-being of the students are our foremost concern. So we make sure that we bring the students are well fed, and then we take them straight to the safety. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of people coming to the museum, as well as you. You can pay a visit, call me in if you need any information, further information about, say, a tour guide or anything to do with my programs. I'm more than happy to help you out.
Well, viewers, now you know what's inside the National Museum. And viewers, if you'd like to pay a visit, the National Museum is open from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. every day and not on weekends. So if I were you, I would drop by and know what these artifacts are from and where they got them from. Like, it would be so interesting. We'll go for a breather. When we come back, we go to the political museum that they have in downtown.
Well, House Independence was what we call, or I call as the old House of Assembly. The old House of Assembly was where the political history of this place, this country, started off. It also reminds me at this occasion of the passing of the late Grand Chief Sir Michael Thomas Sumare, who started his political career there. And that the place is quite important when you look back at the history of Papua New Guinea's political stability. The House of Assembly was the pivotal point where all like-minded Papua New Guineans got together. And there was people, the most prominent of is now our late Grand Chief, who led Papua New Guineans who were not that well educated, but they had a vision that created what we now call the sovereign state of Papua New Guinea. The original building was a hospital. The hospital was built basically to look after and cater for the expatriate community at that time. 1951, the Legislative Council, that is the body that was the forefront of what we call the then House of Assembly. So when the Legislative Council was created, it held all its meeting down. There was a Red Cross building in those days down on Ella Beach. So they had their meetings there, but because the place was small for the size of the members of the Legislative Council, they decided to move up and take over the hospital. By that time, the hospital had already moved to what we, at that time, they call, in fact, it is known as Boroko, but we call it Tauranga General Hospital. The site there now is where the original hospital was moved into. Okay, that building was taken over by the Legislative Council. But then when the first House of Assembly was created, that's when they moved into that building. So that building currently, apart from all that renovation work that was carried out, the only place that still has the memory of the original House of Assembly is the basement, which is also part of what is called the car park. And that used to be the morgue. The morgue was located down there. And that place is still there, still a car park. Part of that car park is now taken over by the building by the Super Fund. That car park runs straight across towards the new building that is standing there, the penthouse of the Crown Plaza penthouse owned by the Super Fund. So when you look at that, it actually does not resemble the original House of Assembly. But what it is, I would like to call it a replica, but not the exact building of the House of Assembly. There is currently a gallery in there. There's two galleries. There's a walk-in gallery where you have years of development of Papua New Guinea from 1945 to 1984, a total of 39 years. Okay, it's quite informative. It's all pictorial. It's So all photographs that we were able to get from most of them from Australia, some from within our own sources. So it tells you the story when the colonial government, the colonial masters who were here at the time, started off, and they started the development of this country. So it's quite unique that you will see a lot of our past leaders, very prominent leaders like Sir Albert Marikiti, Sir Matthias Tolman. You know, these are the leaders who were very prominent in those days. And as I mentioned earlier on, you had people in the caliber of late the Grand Chief Sir Michael Thomas Sumare. And when you look at the old House of Assembly building as a museum, the history that is contained there is very vital for the future of this country, because it is there that we learned of this leadership that was demonstrated by people like the late Grand Chief and his colleagues, who wanted a country that had a diverse people in it. You know, you got 1,000 plus languages, you got 600 odd traditions and customs. How do you format these people together? You know, so really at that time they had a very difficult task. You know, and I would say that you know, I admire immensely the vision that this old man had, you know, at that time in bringing all these people together. Because in those formative years, he had quite a lot of opposition, and you will see it in some of the photographs. But the important thing that is demonstrated in there is the vision and the political leadership. You know, from a man, you know, who didn't have much of a education, so to speak, but was able to develop, you know, that charismatic approach and to be able to bring in everybody. You know, and when you look at Papua New Guinea, you know, it's totally different. Now we have so many intermarriages. Previously, we never had that. It's an amazing country. You know, when you look at how, you know, these people were able to model it and bring it into what. Because I can recall that certain people in the Australian government, they were very uncomfortable, put it this way, you know, and they thought that people of the late Grand Chief and his colleagues were incapable of running a country with that diverse, you know, society, you know, and he has proven everybody wrong to be able to create and establish a political stability for this country. And now you look at it, you know, we're able to do things. He predicted that we'll have pilots. We got pilots. Not only male, female pilots. You know, we got doctors, we got scientists. You know. Nobody dreamt that in those years. You know, I mean, you know, in those formative years, like I said, from 1948 to 1984, you know, nobody thought that Papua New Guineans would have scientists. We got miners working overseas. Yeah, you know, Papua New Guineans are, you know, CEOs running their own organizations. You know. So when you look at it, the old House of Assembly had a lot to contribute to the country. Currently, the standalone exhibition we have is featuring the Arek family. The late Paulus Arek was the first communications minister, information communications, under the late Grand Chief. The Grand Chief at that time was the Chief Minister. And it showed, and also at the time, Paul Sarek was the chairman of the Select Committee. The Select Committee was empowered to do all the research about Papua New Guinea gaining independence, you know. And I would imagine at that time, a lot of people were scared. Tintinos and white money go. But you make that big play heavy, you know. But the Grand Chief saw it differently, you know. He saw that Papua New Guineans were able to handle themselves. Papua New Guineans were able to manage themselves, you know. So he started to take that journey, you know. And now that journey is what you and I are, you know. And you know, I'm really thankful. I'm saddened that he has left us, but I'm also thankful that we are able to live in this country with not a lot of influence. Although we have problems, like every other country, we have problems. But we were able to model it to fit what you and I want. You know, in those days, it's very hard. You couldn't go into a restaurant because they would say, "Hey, Kanaka," you know, call your Kanaka, you know. And like Grand Chief didn't like that. You know? He said, "Oh, no." I mean, he got his bit of whatever, you know. But like I said, he had that vision, you know. And this country must look towards the footsteps that he took. You know. This country must emulate what this old man wanted, you know. And I think that most of my colleagues who in the era that we came up, it was a different, you know, class of what you see today, you know. But we are hopeful that, you know, Papua New Guineans will rise up to the occasion. And what he said at the basis of you and I, what he said was for our future generations.
Thank you, Henry, for the brief history of the Walking Political Museum at downtown. Our viewers, you can drop by there also, and it's open from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So you can drop by and know more about the political history that they have in the collection. We'll go for a quick breather. When we come back, I'll meet you in the studio. Welcome back to the show. Now, up next, we have cooking. And this time on cooking, a mother reached out to us to share a traditional inspired dish. Here it is.
Hi, I'm Vanessa from Simbu Province, Kerawagi District. I'm trying to make a mumu here, a traditional mumu, which is regular in Highlands region. So throughout Highlands region, we do same particular mumu. We dig a hole, heat up the stone, and then prepare the hole with the leaves, and then we start up our mumu. But here in Mosby, I can't dig up a hole. I'm trying to do my mumu in the boiler. So these are the ingredients that I'm gonna use for the mumu. This is cow, cabbage, bean, and pork. I marinate it with ginger and Maggi cube with salt. Okay, this is a small mumu. I'm preparing it, so it's gonna take roughly half an hour for the mumu to be ready. So yeah, I'm starting to prepare my mumu pit, or we call it boiler, just because I don't have a pit here. I'm using a boiler to prepare my boiler. Then we use long leaves to Put it inside, and you have half of the leaf is hanging outside. So when you put all the food inside, you have leftover leaves to cover the mumu. So you can use many leaves to put it in to keep the steam inside for the food to cook. Hurry up. So now I've done my preparation in the boiler. So I'm gonna start putting the stones into the boiler to start up my mumu. So now I need a helper. So here is my sister Ellen. She's here to help me. So both of us are gonna prepare the stones in the boiler. So you get the stone and then you blow the ash out. Make sure you get the big stones. Place them at the bottom. Because when the big stones are at the bottom, it produces a lot of heat, and then when the heat comes up, your mumu is already ready. So I'm gonna place this foil at the bottom of the boiler because the stones are very hot. Just because of the cacao might burn up. I mean, usually at the village they don't use foil. Our grandparents, they don't use foil. They use banana leaves only. But just because we are at Mosby, we are using foil. So I'm placing my cacao. So make sure you line them properly. You separate them so that the air will circulate. And then so now I'm gonna place my pork in the mumu boiler. I'm gonna mix them up. Now I'll put some stones. I'm putting the stone on the meat, pork, just because I wanted the pork to be roast, and then the juice will go down to the cacao. And then I'm gonna place a little bit of foil on the top to make sure that my vegetables is not burnt. So and then I'm gonna put those leftover pork on the top. And then a little bit of Maggi cube and salt. And then I'm gonna place foil on top. Now I'm gonna put all the leftover stones on the top, and then I'll cover them. I'm just finished putting all my food in the boiler now. To wrap it up, I have to get a little bit of water to pour it in, just to make the steam to circulate inside the mumu to make, cook hurry up. So here is my water. So now I'm gonna cover it up. So get some more leaf. Make sure you cover it properly. Don't let the steam come out of the boiler. Because when you let the steam come out of the boiler, your food will uncook. So make sure you cover them properly. That's the last part of the mumu. So we're gonna wait for roughly half an hour, and after that I'm gonna show you the finishing part. It's already half an hour now, and our mumu is already cooked. So now we are about to take it out. So now I'm removing the leaves, and we'll check our mumu. After removing the mumu from the boiler, now I'm preparing to serve my food. So here you go. And now this is our Highland style mumu. So if you wanna try it out, try it at your home. So see you guys next time. Bye bye.
And that was our traditional inspired dish. Thank you, Vanessa, for sharing your recipe with us. Viewers, if you want to know more about this recipe, we will post it on our Facebook page. And also, our promotion is still up and running. We are looking for people like Vanessa who reached out to us to share a traditional recipe. You can share any recipe of your choice as long as you want to be featured on EMTV and on House and Home, and you want to earn some money. So you simply message us on our Facebook page and also on our flyer that is showing on your screen, or you can send us an email. We'll go for a quick breather and I'll see you on the other side. Welcome back to the show. Now, if you just joined us, you're watching House and Home, the 6th episode of season 21. Now, this time on fashion, I'll be showing you some fashion tips which incorporate traditional and modern materials that you can find around your house. And if you don't, you can ask your families and friends for that. So let's see how it's done. There's so many words thrown around in the fashion industry that can be hard to keep track of them. If you're not sure about the use of the word contemporary while shopping, no worries. You're probably more familiar with it than you may think. This time on fashion, I will be showing you some few fashion crafts ideas using the word contemporary. It's a mixture of modern and traditional materials. For this craft, I will be making a contemporary earring. What I have is an earring which I bought from the shop. So to make it more stylish, I decided to add some tabu shells. Now, this is the Tolai traditional shell money called tabu. It is not only used as a medium for exchange of goods and services, but also plays a vital role in the Tolai traditional society in the East New Britain province. When dealing with customary obligation like settling dispute and payback, bride price, as well as being regarded as a symbol prestige and also a method of acquiring a land. So what I'm going to do now is using the hot glue gun, I am going to glue the tabu shells onto the earring that I have. There you have it, adding more shades to a simple earring. You can use any traditional shells that you have to style your earring and dress in style. Another fashion craft that I want to show you is using seashell. Seashell is also known as a shell. It's hard, protective layer usually created by an animal that lives in the sea. The shell is part of the body of the animal. Empty shells are often found washed up on the beach by the beachcombers. The shells are empty because the animal has died or the soft part have been eaten by another animal or have been decomposed. For this craft, I will be making a armband. So I have a piece of cardboard. What I'm going to do is glue a fabric onto the cardboard. Then add the elastic. Now once I'm done, I am going to glue the shells onto it. There you have it, something simple you can do for yourself at home. Decorate your home from top to bottom is extremely expensive, especially when it comes to the cost of furniture, painting, minor renovation, and decorative essence. Whatever the case is, this easy to make deco ideas will give your bedroom, living room, kitchen, and other room in your house a new life. A lot of DIY can help you save cost and time and effort. This time on Home Deco, I'll be showing you a simple craft that you can do for your home and decorate your home in style at a lower cost. What I have for this project is a shelf mat. I bought it for $180 at the second hand. So what I'm gonna do is fold the edges, and using my glue gun, I will glue the edges together. While doing that from the top, I will also do the same for the bottom. Then I am going to make the handle. Using a pieces of cardboard, I am going to glue the fabric onto the cardboard. It's just to cover the cardboard. This piece of cardboard will run through the edges where I left an opening there. Once done with the handle, what I'm going to do now is glue the seashell onto the fabric. Lastly, to make the handle, glue the rope onto the piece of cardboard which we covered with the fabric. And we're good to go. Decorate your home in style at the lower cost. And viewers, we've come to the end of this week's episode. I hope you learned a thing or two. And if you want to know more about this episode, you can simply visit EMTV online, or you can check out our Facebook page for more details. Or you can simply contact us on the details showing on your screen now. And also, our promotion is still up and running. If you want to be a guest host on Haus Home and earn some money, you can message us on our Facebook page, or you can simply send us an email on the address showing on your screen now. And on behalf of my team and I, pleasant viewing, stay safe. Make sure to join us same time, same place, right here on EMTV. Goodbye.